We're now going to look at the programming of personal training with clients, which is in your level 3 personal trainer qualification. We've already talked about the LAP loosely. We're now going to look at page 16, which is the actual overview of the progressive and predictive program. This is quite a big thing really, so I'm just going to give you an example of a program and what needs to be in it, and then you can look at it and see how you want to produce your own program, either based around it or dependent on your client's requirements. Up here I've just done a rough example of what an 8-week plan loosely would look like. This would need a lot more flesh put on the bones, but if we started off with a goal, an eventual goal of hypertrophy, then we would need to see over 8 weeks how we are going to get to that goal. So firstly, you need to look at the requirements of the 8-week plan at the start of your LAP, and it tells you exactly what you need to include in it. So if there's anything omitted here, you can add to it, but we're going to just give you a very loose idea of what it needs to be. If we had this hypertrophy as the end goal, in week 1 we wish to construct a muscular endurance plan, something like the one that you may have done in level 2. So if we just started with a full body routine, a daily routine of 1 or 2 exercises per body part involving 2 sets of 15 reps at the very beginning, and then we could use an RPE of 6 to 7 for endurance, and perhaps just do resistance machines only on that first week, because resistance machines are very prescriptive in the way they move, so no additional skill would be required. We would have a CV element in this too, and you could do perhaps something like long slow endurance as in your level 2 for say 15 minutes at an RPE of 7 equaling 70% of maximum heart rate. As we moved into week 2, we could then add some free weights to this initial muscular endurance program. So we'd now have a split of resistance machines and free weights, so you can look at adding and changing to the program. So adding free weights to the program will mean perhaps dropping some resistance machines. That's a skill that you will already have because of level 2. You'll know which ones to use. Also we still at this point will always put compound exercises before isolation exercises, so remember that as well. The CV then in week 2 could just be perhaps increased to 20 minutes of long slow duration again, so a simple change on the program here. Week 3 we could then combine these 2 weeks, free weights and resistance machines, and just drop the rep range down to 12. The RPE would stay the same at 7, so when the rep range comes down it makes it more intense. And again, the CV on week 3 we can just add to that time on the CV. On week 4 you'll see in the program that you have some cards. So these, these are the program cards. So your week 4 part of the program will be actually put onto a card. So these cards need to be photocopied, so you need to, there's only 1 in your lap, you need to do a photocopy of that, so you've got 2. You can also add to it, so there's not a lot of room on them, so if you need to add additional paper to it, then that's fine, you can add to it. So on this week 4 one, we would have a split routine for the first time, and we're just going to do what we call a 2-way split. So we could have upper body and lower body, or any way you think or consider would be a good way of splitting. So it would be done with a day's rest in between each day's program. We would use 3 sets of 12 because we're just going to come into hypertrophy now. On the 4th week you need to show 4 advanced training systems. So they could be things like supersets, trisets, pyramids, drop sets, matrix, all the stuff that's listed in your level 3 advice at the beginning of the lap. you will also need to put some CV exercise in there, and now we're looking at advancing the CV. So we need to look at 2 advanced training systems. So you may wish to use long slow duration alongside interval training, or you may wish to introduce fartlek training. The choice is yours, and it depends on your client as well. So this then needs to include free weights. You can obviously include some resistance machines. You can use other bits of equipment, for instance cables. You know, we can introduce a lot of different movements now into this routine. It's going to be, we're looking at probably on a 2-way split 4 or 5 exercises per body part. So now it becomes more intense, and now you have to think about working individual muscles in particular muscle groups. If you need advice on this, obviously we're there, so you can contact us and ask us, because it is a lot more detailed than you've done in level 2. In week 5, as we move on, again you only need to put a rough explanation, so you can put in perhaps as week 4, just reduce the reps to 10, which automatically increases the intensity and increase the CV. So again, you can just add time, or if you're working on interval training, you can reduce the ratio of hard to easy, so that there are more hard sessions and fewer easier ones. In week 6 again, we can just do as we did in week 5, except we can drop the reps again, this time to 8, and again increasing the CV. In week 7 here, I've left it as in week 6. We're just going to let them get used to doing what they're doing in this new split routine. And then finally in week 8, again, this is a week when we have to use that card. So the second card comes into play, and now we're going to do a three-way split. So on the 3-way split, we're going to group body parts. So me personally, the way I would do it would be to use biceps and deltoids together. I would use, because deltoids are a fixator for biceps, I would use pectorals and triceps together, because triceps are a synergist for pectorals, and I would engage the posterior kinetic chain by doing back and legs together. It's a heavy day, but it's a really important thing to try and use that posterior kinetic chain if possible together. So the three-way split then would perhaps include 5 exercises per body part for big body parts, and perhaps 4 for smaller muscle groups. Again, we would use the compound and isolation rule. The CV on this, again, we have to show 2 different CV approaches, so you can increase it accordingly, and we have to see those 4 approaches for advanced training systems in terms of resistance training. So again, pyramids, triceps, supersets, all that stuff. So these week 8 and week 4 have to be shown on cards, and it has to be a detailed way of exactly how you're going to program that client on those 2 weeks. The others you can just explain in writing on the overview. So the overview you will probably need, because if you look at this, it's not a particularly big piece of paper. So on this part, you know, you may have to attach another couple of A4 sheets to it. That's fine, providing you date it and sign it, then that's okay. So this then is your 8-week plan. It's quite a big piece of work. You need to think about it, take your time when you're planning it, interact with us if you have any issues in terms of planning, and then we can point you in the right direction. Good luck with the 8-week plan, because this week 4 and week 8 are what you're going to be assessed on in your final practical assessment. So enjoy the planning, and we'll speak soon.